Y S Y S B M. The video that I'm making today is called "Who is Your Enemy?" Now, this video, as usual, is going to be to the black men who have already left the single motherhood, and the black men who have already moved forward, and the black men who are on the fence wondering what is the next step, and especially to the young black men who really are not aware of certain things just yet. This is why I chose the name the Oracle of Wisdom, because as a person, the Most High has given me many visions and dreams, and also I've had quite a few experiences. And when I had those experiences, I wondered, why me? Why do I have to be the one to go through certain things? And now I understand some of those experiences. Sometimes you go through certain things so you can advise someone else before they go down the wrong path. Or, now you have the insight or the wisdom to give someone else so they can see it coming. Now, the reason I chose this small video of these two guys sparring or boxing is because the video was about black men out here. Who is your enemy? I'm not just talking about the black men that are educated and want to do well. I'm not just talking about the top tier black men, the black men with good jobs, or the blue collar black men that own businesses or, get paid well. I'm not talking about just them. I'm talking about all black men from, of any walk of life. So I'm talking about the ones that are in the streets. I'm talking about the ones that are in classrooms, the ones that are in buildings, I'm talking about all of them. Who is your enemy? Now I'm especially talking to young black men, high schoolers, these young college guys. Who is your enemy? Most of your life, you've been told that the white man is your enemy. The entire white race is your enemy, and they're trying to destroy you, which is partially true. You've been told that other men are your enemy. Other men are your competition. They look at you this way. They look at you that way. You've been told that the white man was going to give you his woman to destroy you. You've been told that, the Asians are your enemy. You've been told other black men are your enemy. You need to watch out for these other black men. You need to watch out. They call them niggas. You need to watch out for niggas out here in these streets. They out to get you. You've been told everyone is your enemy except this black female. Now, just the other day, I was listening to a black man's video on YouTube, and he was listening to the audio of 3 females that consider themselves swirlers. And from listening to them, I know they're not swirlers. They want to be inducted into the swirling clan, because there's a certain behavior that a true swirler must have. She understands she's got to be on P's and Q's. Okay? Now, in this video, of the 3 swirlers, 2 of them sounded like men. I'm sure they look like men. One of them is very, very unattractive. I'm not going to speak their name. But they were basically discussing or telling each other and other black women that when they see black men in the streets, they need to run into stores and, get away from them because black men are so dangerous. The same black men that were raised by single black women. But they were saying that, black women need to start calling the police and making false reports and false claims on black men, and say they tried to hit them, they tried to rob them just to get them off the streets and just get them in jail, because they're saying the black man is their enemy. Now, I want to take you guys back through history just a little bit. And I'm discussing this in my own family as well. Because as I said before, I don't talk about what I've been told. I talk about what I've experienced. Now, before I go through the history of black women and feminists, it'll be very short. Trust me. I'm going to say, for me, I don't usually listen to women talk. It's very hard for me to listen to women talk because it's all nonsense. Now, this man's video I was watching, I could only listen to maybe 5 to 7 minutes of it. I couldn't take anymore. The vitriol, the stupidity, the lack of order and structure. It was just all emotional bullshit. That's why I hardly ever listen. I really don't listen to females at all. Now, moving forward. Now, these black women are saying that the black man is their enemy. But the truth is, the black man is the only ally that the black woman in the United States of America has. And she has gone against him. She has bitten the hand that has fed her. Moving forward. These same swirling women were talking about how they need to make friends with Arab men and Asian men and Hispanic men because those men told them they're beautiful. Well, of course they're going to tell you they're beautiful when you're spending $1,000 a month buying weave in their store. Sure they are. You know what I mean? But moving forward, when it comes to black women, here is why black men are their only ally. And especially you, save yourself, black man. This is why you are her only ally. Because years ago, let's just go back to, I want to go further than 100 years. Let's say 120 years ago, back, well, now it's 2020. Let's say 150 years ago in the 1800s. Black women were not ever oppressed by black men. They were oppressed by white men. And black women were not oppressed as heavily as black men. Black women were teachers, they were maids, they were nurses, and they did many other things. They were easily able to hold down a job. There was no problem. People looked to hire black women. Now, as a black man, even in those times, 1850, 1875, early 1900s, even if you were college educated, you were an experienced tradesman, it didn't matter. You were black and you had a dick. So people didn't want to hire you. If you had children with this black woman, oftentimes she had to go out and get a job. Not because you weren't capable, but because of the times people didn't want to hire black men because they wanted to make sure that black men and their black families stayed on the bottom. Okay? Now, there were many black men in these times that had the mindset of royalty, so they still created certain things in their own community, i.e., black mechanics, black doctors, black dentists, black attorneys, black plumbers. They created all these different guilds in their own community where they didn't have to go outside of the community and look for work. So racism caused a lot of that because a black man couldn't find work just out in the United States. He had to create work in his own. Well, I shouldn't say racism caused that. The ingenuity of the black man actually created that. But racism was something that, since it pushed the black man out, he had to create his own way to survive, which he did. Now, in those times, the 1850s, so on and so forth, black women could own land. They could get divorced. They weren't stuck to some man that they had to marry. You know what I'm saying? They had rights and options and opportunities. There were many black women that had money. You have to stop paying attention to the nonsense you hear on television. There were many black women that owned beauty shops, barber shops, all types of different parlors, even whorehouses. There were many black women that had plenty of money. I know because my grandfather, who died at 92, his grandmother owned a car. And she was the only one in the town that had a car. That includes with the Caucasians and anyone else. Now, also an older relative of mine, she was born, I think, in 1875. She owned about 100 acres worth of land. And she had plenty of money. So, oftentimes, Caucasian women, they were not allowed to own land. Now, if their father died or something, they could leave land to the daughter if they had no other living relatives, but oftentimes that would go to the son. So the white woman was under the control of the Caucasian man even more so than the black woman, because she had to live with him. In the 1920s, it was a law that you could beat your wife, but the stick that you beat her with had to be less than the width of your thumb. Look it up. So black women had a large say-so. They were involved in a black community. They were cared for and looked after and respected in what was at that time the black community. Even during the Reconstruction period, there were many black people were married more than any other race in the United States. Now, that being said, done and over with, this black woman now thinks that, this is getting back to who's your enemy, Sysbm. This black woman now thinks that this white woman who is a feminist is her ally, not really realizing or understanding that this white woman doesn't give a damn about her, because the white woman knows that the black woman is not a part of her fight or her war. Okay? That's why when these black women get raped or anything happens to them, they get their asses kicked in McDonald's and at these Asian stores, none of these white feminists come out for them. Only black men go stand up for them, and they go against and try to fight those same black men. Now, these black women oftentimes are your enemy. I've seen in many different instances where even myself on the job, black women have tried to get me fired. They try to cause problems and issues. They're not even in my department. I don't really work with them. They just work in the building, and they just attempt to try to show some type of control or leg up, or to try to put me in my place. And what has happened every single time is they end up being put in their place. Now, here's why. As a man, you are the head of things. Everyone else, let's say in an office, you've got Caucasians, Asians, Hispanics, and whoever else, Indians. All the other nations operate in a patriarchy. So as a man, you already have the leg up or the head up. The white women already look at you as a black man as being the head of your community. So they look at you as being above black women already, because they look at white men as being above them, which is why they're feminists and they're trying to change that. Understood? So in the job setting as a black man, 9.5 times out of 10, you're going to have more respect and more leverage in a job, in a work environment, than a black woman will. Now, at my jobs, I've only had one time where a white woman tried to create a problem for me and get me fired. Every other time, it was a black female. Oftentimes, they were older than me, old enough to be my mother. I had never had any mixed words with them. I never had any problem with them. We never had any issues. They simply saw me as some type of threat. I have no idea why. And they decided that they were going to try to get rid of me. And every single time, a Caucasian was the one who ended up taking a bite out of these black women's asses. Not me. It was always a Caucasian that ended up taking a chunk out of these black women's asses, and it put them in their place. And then they understood. They went back, home with their toe between their legs. They understood their position. I'm sure if a lot of you black men think about it, if you think back into your life, oftentimes it's not the white man that's trying to stop you or get in your way. It's not the white woman. It's not the Asians. It's not the Hispanics. And people from India don't even count. They're immigrants. They're not even oftentimes they're on a lower level. They only own gas stations in the worst ghetto ass neighborhoods. So we're going to leave them out of this. But these other nations, oftentimes, they have their own community, and they work within their own community, and they live on a scale within their own community. If you think about it, it's usually your black mother that tries to cause you issues, your black sisters, your black aunts. Oftentimes, there's black women in the workplace, black women that just have jobs out in your city. If you think about it, it's usually not black men that create issues for you. In my experience, usually black men at different jobs and things will try to give you an opportunity because they want to extend success to you. That's been my experience. Now, there's the matriarchal black man, but usually you're not going to find him in any position of power at a job. Usually the matriarchal black man, his mind and his opportunities have already been destroyed by himself and his willingness to follow this black female. Usually the matriarchal black man is going to have a prison record. He's going to be homosexual, or he's going to have a lot of major mental issues. And perhaps he just doesn't have the confidence to stand up and go for what he wants in life. So as a black man, I want you to start paying attention to your surroundings and see who's actually out to get you. Stop listening to what other people tell you. Don't even listen to what I'm saying. Start looking in your own area. Start finding out what's actually going on. Just be silent and observe. Because oftentimes, once you know who the enemy is, that's who you can avoid, and you can quell them and keep them away from you. Oftentimes, people will tell you your enemy is someone else so that you don't actually notice the real enemy. Now, these black women are out here trying to get you arrested, lying on you. They know a lot of black men get killed by the cops. They're willing to risk your life because oftentimes your life doesn't mean anything. You understand what I'm saying? They're willing to do anything to create a problem in your life, and they don't even know you. So I'm telling you, black men out there, especially you young black males, a lot of the young black girls in high school are like this as well. They're starting out like this. This is how they behave. This is normal behavior. So I want you to start looking around. I can't tell you to look in your community because you don't have a community. As a black man, you don't belong to a community. You're not a part of a collective. You have been ousted out of what used to be your community, and now the black community is just mothers and children, or females and children. So again, this video is stop sparring. Stop thinking that you're in some type of fight or in some type of revolution. You're not in a revolution. The war is over. Your community has been burned down to the ground. All the homes have been burned. The tents have been burned. The cows have been sacrificed. Everyone's dead. Okay? There's only smoke where you used to live at. So it's time for you to move forward. So stop thinking that you're in some type of revolution. You're fighting. You know what I'm saying? You're not fighting. Stop fighting. I want you to take a moment, lay down that sword and shield by the riverside, and just think about things and start paying attention to who actually has it out for you. Because you'll find, oftentimes, I would say 7 times out of 10, it's this black woman that has it out for you, black men. Especially if you're educated, you speak proper English, you speak other languages, you dress well. Now, if you got gold teeth and face tattoos and you wear your pants below your ass cheeks, no problem. She could be your friend. She's never going to be your ally, but you won't have any problem out of her. But if you are respectable black men, you carry yourself with honor and pride, then this black female oftentimes has an ingrained hatred for you. So again, I'm not speaking against the black females as a whole, because the black females that carry themselves with honor and self-respect also receive the same hatred from other black women. It's maybe not to the same degree, but they also receive the same hatred, because oftentimes this type of black woman, the mammy, she wants to see you in a state of self-loathing because that's where she lives. She lives in the state of self-loathing. So again, you young black men out there, you older black men out there, stop being cajoled by society. Don't end up being ignorant and being caught in a situation. You must always be very careful when these black women come to you with certain things, because oftentimes, even when they come just to talk to you, especially at work, at your desk, be very careful with what you say. And if they start saying things that you don't agree with or that are uncomfortable, you tell you got to go back to your job, I'll talk to you later. Just get rid of her. Stop trying to give them respect. Give them avoidance. You have to start socially distancing yourself from a lot of these black females. Pay close attention to what they're doing, because oftentimes they are the ones who are your actual enemy.